Hello and welcome to this week's news bulletin from the Christian Institute. First to Scotland, and a new campaign group has been launched which aims to help to protect the current definition of marriage in the country. Scotland for Marriage held its launch rally outside the Scottish Parliament buildings in Edinburgh earlier this week. It brings together religious and non-religious groups throughout Scotland to challenge the Scottish Government's thinking on marriage and tell them that they need to think again about any moves to legalise same-sex marriage. Ben Rochelle reports.
Over 200 people from all over Scotland turned out on St Andrew's Day to support the launch of new campaign group Scotland for Marriage. A public consultation on redefining marriage was launched by the SNP-led Scottish Government back in September. But opposition to the plans has been growing. Former SNP leader Gordon Wilson was asked what advice he had for his contemporaries in government.
Not to go ahead with it. I just can't understand why they did. I can only assume that it was a matter of intoxication of victory after the May election and they let their guard down and common sense disappeared. It's something where the Scottish Government has not yet taken a decision. They're minded to do so, but I think they did not realise the deep nature of resistance within Scottish society.
Anne Allen is a former teacher, and she's concerned what impact any new legislation would have on children and teachers in the classroom.
Heterosexual traditional marriage is very different from same-sex union, and people in same-sex union would admit that. There are different components and there are very different outcomes. One has the possibility for creativity and the production of children, one does not. And yet we're going to tell children that these relationships have the same name. They are all called marriage. This is confusion. This is ridiculous. What on earth is going to result from this in our schools? And where is this going to leave teachers? Teachers who want to believe and only believe in traditional heterosexual marriage. Are they going to have freedom of conscience in what they tell children?
Leader of the Roman Catholic Church in Scotland, Cardinal Keith O'Brien, is also a firm supporter of the campaign. He said marriage brings huge benefits to society and has always existed to bring men and women together so that children will have a mother and a father.
Everyone knows what marriage is about. It's one man, one woman, for the procreation of children, for the mutual love of the couple involved. It's never been defined in any other way than that.
People of all ages and backgrounds attended the launch rally. So why is the Scotland for Marriage campaign so important?
I think people need a method and a means of expressing their disquiet and their disagreement with the direction the Scottish Government's taking. And I think unless there is some sort of public forum for that, it might not happen. But I think the time has come for us really to say this is a far bigger and deeper issue, and we really need to be able to say, no, marriage needs to be left alone.
Scottish Lib Dem leader Rennie has reacted to the rally at Holyrood, saying he is disappointed that respected figures such as Cardinal O'Brien and Gordon Wilson could be so intolerant. He said, Liberal Democrats support the SNP government's effort to bring fairness and equality to marriage, and we urge the First Minister to stand firm against this campaign. And just this week, the Church of Scotland has joined in the debate, releasing its response to the government consultation, saying, the Church of Scotland has always viewed marriage as being between one man and one woman. It continued saying that any redefinition may have significant and as yet inadequately considered repercussions for our country, for the well-being of families, communities and individuals. Well, a special website has been launched to support the Scotland for Marriage campaign at scotlandformarriage.org. You can sign an online petition in favour of retaining the current legal definition of marriage and calling for a referendum on the issue. In just 2 days, over 2,000 people have put their name to the petition, and with just 1 week left to respond to the government's consultation on redefining marriage, you can also access a handy online consultation response form from this site to let the Scottish Government know what you think about their plans. Over 1,000 people have made use of the form, which is also available on the Christian Institute website at christian.org.uk. In other news, David Cameron has said atheist campaigner Richard Dawkins just doesn't really get it on the issue of faith schools. The Prime Minister made the comments as he answered questions from well-known figures for a Guardian newspaper article. Professor Dawkins asked, "Why do you support faith schools for children who are too young to have chosen their faith? thereby implicitly labelling them with the faith of their parents, whereas you wouldn't dream of so labelling a Keynesian child or a Conservative child. This was Mr Cameron's response.
Well, comparing John Maynard Keynes to Jesus Christ shows, in my view, why Richard Dawkins just doesn't really get it. But the church was providing good schools long before the state ever got involved, and we should respect the fact that it's not just the state that can provide education, other bodies too. So I support faith schools on the basis of the proof that over the years they've been good schools.
The Prime Minister also responded to a question from TV presenter Jonathan Ross, who called for more drugs to be legalised. But Mr Cameron replied, "I don't believe in legalisation. If you legalise, you make more available. And if you make more available, you build up a larger problem." Employers in the UK are being forced to spend nearly £1 billion complying with equality legislation, according to a report published by think tank Civitas. The massive sum has led Sunday Times commentator Minette Marin to write that the entire equalities industry should be abandoned as an unaffordable luxury. The previous government's controversial Equality Act, which came into force last year, has faced widespread criticism, with Christians particularly concerned about a duty for public bodies, like schools, hospitals and the police, to promote homosexual and transsexual rights. And finally, Condoleezza Rice has told students at a university in Alabama that asking God for guidance has been the driving force of her career. The former US Secretary of State, who is now a political science professor at Stanford University, told a group of over 400 students that her Christian faith and the decisions she makes are inseparable. She said, "The best part about being a person of faith is that I could be continually optimistic even in hard times." She added a quote from Abraham Lincoln, "You have times where you have nowhere else to go than your knees," commenting, "That is very deeply ingrained in me." Well, that's all for this week. For more information and regular updates on all of our stories, plus much more, visit our website at christian.org.uk. Until next time, goodbye.